Now it's probably just on me at this point. All right, welcome in everyone. We're gonna start. We'll introduce ourselves. So obviously Lain isn't here. This is Lisa Lain, and I'm their daughter Mackenzie. So we are teaching this class today, But this new introductions today, we're gonna talk about all the kind of new stuff that we found this year. It's kind of newer in the past 2 years or so. And then answer any questions at the end that you have on anything. So that's today's class. Tomorrow, because a couple of people asked, is gonna be mostly vendors speaking. So all of our different vendors for flowers, hard goods, things are going to come in and they'll just speak on their stuff. That's at 9:30 tomorrow. I'm sure they'll talk over some plants as well. But so that's what we're doing today. Welcome in 63rd year? 63rd year that we've been open. So it's kind of the start to the spring. This spring open house is just the start to color and fancy and getting our butts in gear. So that's kind of why we have it every year. Unfortunately, we had such nice weather up to this. The last 2 days. So hopefully tomorrow's a little bit better, at least rain-wise. But thank you for coming in and braving this. And I thought there'd be like 2 people here. So this is better for me. This is great.
So that's spring in the mountains. You never know what you're going to get. You can get beautiful sun, or you can get wind, or you can get snow. So that's just spring in the mountains. But we know spring is coming because things are budding out. Everything's kind of getting ready to pop. So it's just such a fun time of year. If you're a gardener or enjoy spring colors, it's just a fun time of year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you want to start? We'll start on this guy because we have a special on him, which we'll tell you in just a little bit. This is a spring shine forsythia. The beauty of this guy is he's smaller. So a lot of the forsythia, they'll get up 5-6 feet tall. They're huge. We know a lot of people have smaller yards now, especially, in Granville and PV. So we found a smaller forsythia. Blooms just the same, right? Yep. 4 feet, 4 by. Go get your mic figured out. So 4 by 2. So it's really compact, but it fills with flowers. So this is not bloomed out yet. It will still keep blooming. We just got these from California, so they're blooming early. This kind of bring it up so you guys can see. So full of flowers. It does go deciduous in the fall, so it'll lose all its leaves, and then it comes back out full of flowers. And then from there, it'll leaf out green. It's a really dark green through the rest of the year, and it finishes blooming kind of by like April or so. But this guy, full sun, nothing goes after this guy. Nothing's going to eat it, take out leaves or anything, right?
Yeah, so it is animal resistant. So we say resistant because I don't think there's anything 100% foolproof. But this is definitely one they're not going to go after. They're not going to search it out in your yard and go, oh, I want that. If the deer is walking by and they're hungry or just curious, they can try it. But it's definitely not on their favorite list. But I think I got a little distracted. But yeah, this is nice because it stays a little smaller. Also would do well in containers. So after it blooms, it puts on that green leaf. It will go dormant in the wintertime, so it won't have any leaves on it. But it's really pretty if you mix it in with your evergreen shrubs, other stuff that you have going on. To me, this is kind of that announcement. Of, my gosh, spring is there. It's just the Forsythia bloom. So just a cute, great little plant for here. Does very well.
Yeah, so we have a $10 off on this guy. So they're all in the center. $10 off for him for the spring open house. That's you cut it back. Yeah, once it's done blooming is when you cut it back. If you cut it back in the winter, you'll lose all your spring blooms. So you do it as soon as this thing's done blooming, you cut it back then. And that's any of your spring bloomers, your lilacs, anything that blooms in the spring, you cut back after it's done blooming, not in the wintertime. Kind of depends.
Well, at that time, I usually just shape it because it's not a very big one to begin with. So you're just kind of shaping it, keep it that's whatever shape you like, or if you like the free form, just let it do free form.
Yeah, it's only 2 feet, so you don't need to cut it back too much.
So this one is a really cool plant. And
we love this one.
Not one you see a lot of. I was actually very surprised to find it this year. So this is winter jasmine. It is a.
You want to split this?
Okay. It's plus my allergies are killing me. We'll just share. We can share. Okay. So winter jasmine is kind of it can be very viney. It can grow up tall. It can spread out. But it blooms yellow, kind of like the forsythia, but it actually blooms before the forsythia blooms. So I have one in my yard. My neighbor actually has one, and they started blooming in February this year. Oh,
sorry. I forgot what I was doing. Get out of here. Wow.
I'm glad we got that on film. So it's another one that's very animal resistant for deer and javelina and bunnies and that type of thing. It just kind of brambles out. It'd be really pretty over a rock wall, going down a hill, that kind of thing. It just kind of brambles out. I think the size they say, I love this sign, it'll get anywhere from 4 to 10 feet. So it's the one you can choose. So in our spot where we have it in our yard, it's a little limited. So we do keep it trimmed back. But I noticed my neighbor across the street, they just let theirs go. And it does just kind of spread out. So it's haven't really seen it a lot lately. So I was so excited to see it in again because it's just a fun plant. It's going to put on a green leaf in the summertime. It will go dormant, but the stems on it actually stay green. So, a lot of your dormant plants, they go brown and they get crispy and they look not so pretty. This one, at least the stems on it stay very green through the winter time as well. And like I said, it'll be one of your first things to bloom out in the yard.
Spring bloomers, you want to do lilacs?
Sure.
Too many things. Well, we're just going to stick with the theme of spring bloomers. So that way, these are all going to be spring. So this guy is our new lilac variety we got in this year. It's virtual violet. Say that 3 times fast. So the beauty with this guy is he's a little bit smaller. I think he's 4 by, nice wide, 6 by 8, but he throws off more purple. So the leaves themselves are going to have a purple tinge to them, whereas the other ones stay green. The flowers are going to be a dark purple themselves as well. I think they even said the stem will kind of go purple too. Now it's new. I haven't quite seen that yet, but it looks like the new growth gets that purple stem. So everything's purple in this guy. So these guys all kind of, it's still clustered flowered, right?
Yeah, it's a regular lilac flower, which is that big cluster.
Yeah, because some of them are a little more spindly. So this guy will have those clustered ends. Still smells just as great as any other lilac. It's not going to lose its fragrance. We just brought it in because it's all purple. And you don't get to see that. We all have green here. We've got blue. So we wanted to bring in a different color for you guys.
If you were to compare, when you look at them up close, you can definitely see more purple in the leaves and in the stem on it. And then you're going to have that with the bloom as well. I'm really excited. I really want to see these guys bloom and see how they look. So, yeah.
So that's that lilac. There's another new lilac.
So this is a proven winners. It's a Centera double a blue lilac. So Proven Winter says it is one of the most highly fragranced lilacs that they have ever created. It still has that lavendery blue look to it, the blossom on it. I think this one is a shorter one. Well, they're saying 6 to 8. What do we know? There's so many varieties of lilac. But we brought this in mainly for the scent because everybody who wants a lilac, what do you love about lilacs? It's the scent. So we brought this one to see what the fragrance is on it. It has a double bloom, so it's a very, very thick, very full blossom on it because it's a double bloomer. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Javelina. So most of your lilacs are all javelina and peer resistant. I always got to throw that disclaimer in there. That's our helper back there. So most of the time, yes, they will leave them alone. There again, occasionally early spring, you just never know what an animal's going to do. All your lilacs love the heat. They love the sun. They can take that and be perfectly happy out in the sun. This one is a new variety called Pink Teeny. And I know this one is smaller.
Yeah.
This one's about 4x4, 4x5. It has the pink blossom to it, which is unusual. Usually you see a lot of lavenders and blues and purples. So to have that pink blossom is a little different. But the buds on this sucker are huge. They're getting ready to pop. They want to scream spring.
Yeah. There's a microphone behind if you need. We've got a handheld one back there. Pick this back. All right, so those are the new lilacs. That's everything new. Now we have tons of other varieties. We've got a white variety. We have a double bloomerang that blooms twice a year. That's been here a while. So lots of other lilacs. These are just our new ones.
Yep. Any questions on those? Yes. So the question is, do they do better in the ground or a container? So for these lilacs, I think they do better in the ground. There is a bloomerang lilac, which is I think it gets about 4x4. Still has that really nice fragrance, but it does better. Not better, but you can grow it easily in a container. I've grown one in a container, I think I'm going on 3-4 years now. The bloomerang is kind of cool because it will bloom 2, sometimes 3 times a year. The bloom is not quite as big as you find on a standard lilac, but it just has tons of blooms on it when it blooms. So it's. Oh yeah, like I said, mine's come back. Things in containers, you need to water a little bit more. So in the wintertime, you can't just ignore it. You do need to hydrate it through the wintertime, but they can take the cold in a container and come back and be fine.
Let's start at the shade plants.
Okay. You want to talk about this one?
Yeah, I'm just bringing them all in.
Oh.
So we're going to go shade plants next. So that was all full sun. I've got 3 shades that can only do afternoon shade. And then we'll do full sun stuff. So we'll talk about that.
Okay. So this one is an azalea. So there's kind of a couple
of the flower
different.
That's the flower color.
Yeah. I brought it up because it's going to be really cool when it blooms. So this particular azalea will bloom first, and then it puts out its leaves. It is not a evergreen azalea. We do have many evergreen azaleas, so they keep leaves on them year round, and then they bloom. But this is, you define this color, these bright oranges, these bright yellows, is unusual. So this one, I forget his name. Gibraltar azalea. There again, they need shade here. It doesn't have to be full day shade, but definitely shade during the hot part of the day. So by 10:30, it wants shade probably till 2, 3 o'clock. So it can take early morning sun, it can take late afternoon sun, or even very filtered, like planting it under a pine tree or a maple tree, something like that, where it's getting filtered light to it as well. But I think there's another one that's just orange. This one's kind of a yellowy orange, and then the other one is just orange. And then we also have many other azalea pinks and purples and all that kind of colors too.
You can get multiple colors in, because we know California people, you had arrays of colors. You got reds and stuff, and you don't get that here because red stuff burns or needs the shade. So we try and find you different things that will work under your huge trees, under your patios, that get you your color that you want, that you can't have just out in the sun. So,
and yes, you can grow it in a pot.
Yeah, great in a pot.
Both of them do well in a pot. Yeah, animal, so. I probably wouldn't put it in their migration path.
Do this guy. All right, so this guy, I think only one microphone works at a time. Lily of the Valley, also known as Pieris. Again, shade 10 to 2, but this guy is new. You've probably seen the red, fiery, when they come out, their new leaves are red and kind of orange. And then their flowers are usually white, I would say. They also come in variegated, so they have like a yellow tinge on the outside, green in the center. This guy is the purple. It kind of tells it's got like a purple tinge to it. It's not just that white flower.
Rosy.
Whatever.
It's called prairie rose. That's why.
Okay. Prairie rose. So it's got more of that color tinge that you want for it. Does it come out with the orange and red, or is it just green?
No, this one will leaf out just green. There is one down there called Mountain Fire, and the new growth on Mountain Fire is a bright red leaf, and it has a white blossom. This one is a new one, the prairie rose, because it's unusual to have those really pretty kind of pink mauve-y blossoms to it.
Yeah, and this is it doesn't get very big. This is maybe gets a little bit taller than this, fills out, and that's your plant. So this is almost full grown. Give it a year or two, it'll fill out. So it's as big as you're going to get.
So they are spring blooming, very long blooming, but eventually those blossoms will fade. You just kind of trim them off, and then you have that green plant.
Yep. Toxic to animals.
I think that's the bulb, the lily of the valley bulb.
Big flower.
Yeah, this is not a true lily of the valley. It's just another name for it. Pieris is its actual botanical, but I think you're thinking of the actual, which we typically don't grow here because it's just so dry. They just don't make it. Yeah. Yes, you could definitely grow that in a pot as well.
I'm caught. You do it.
So this is not new, but I know a lot of people from the East are very familiar, East Coast, very familiar with them, California, but we haven't really grown them a lot here. But this is a hellebore, or a Linton rose is the other name. Comes in, I just love this color. You just don't see this really dark, pretty color very often. It also comes in a white one and then kind of a light pink one as well. They are another early season bloomer. So late winter, early spring is when they want to bloom. They are evergreen, so they will lose, the blossoms will fade in the wintertime, but you'll have this real pretty green foliage out there. It's another one, animal resistant. And you can, when you feel the leaf, it's a very kind of a waxy leaf, which most animals don't like to eat, but sometimes they'll try. Needs a shady spot. They're getting great in filtered light areas, great in containers. Just a real cool plant for here, but not very, you don't see it a lot in people's yards, which is, I know we have a lot of sunny places, but usually we got a little spot of shade somewhere. It would be a fun one to throw in. Definitely.
Yeah, it really fills out once you get it and plant it, because it's a bulb, so it needs roots. So when you plant it, it really fills out. Yep. She showed me a picture. She's got a picture of one.
Yeah.
She has a picture. She planted one 3 years ago. It's just filled out. It looks fantastic. I saw the picture. So
Yeah.
We
Cool.
only sell them this time of year. So once we're out, because we don't like to bring them in when they're not blooming because they're not pretty like that, like in a pot. So
yeah, we moved them down below. There's like 3 different varieties down there, I think. At least 2.
it's been blooming for like 2 weeks now. How long does
Oh,
it bloom?
they'll bloom, I would say, usually till it starts to get pretty warm. So 6 to 8 weeks at least, maybe. Okay. Oh, nice. So we have real life experience here, which I love. So that's it for kind of the wisteria. You want to talk about it real quick? So, so this is a white wisteria. It's the Captain Fuji Silky Wisteria. It has so it's going to have a white blossom. Most of our wisterias that we see have that lavender purpley blossom. But this one just looks really cool. I've not seen us carry this before. So it caught my eye, definitely. It likes to grow on an arbor or a trellis. I would encourage it more on like an eastern side of the house or where it's going to get filtered light. They can take a full sun location, but boy, you got to watch them, and you may see some sunburn, especially if it's up against a wall or somewhere where it's getting additional heat on it. Might be too much, but an east side and north side of the house would be perfect. Beautiful white blossoms, and then it's going to put out its green leaves on there too. We also have the the Texas purple wisteria, and I think there's one other wisteria down there as well. And they're the blossoms are starting to open, really, really pretty. But they have those real big, long, drapey flowers off of them.
It does get a really big trunk once it gets older. So a lot of people train them over houses or stuff. They get really heavy. So just when you put it on something, be aware that when it gets older, the trunk will get big and heavy. So it's beautiful. It just has some weight to it. You want to give it a good structure to catch on to.
Yep. Okay.
All right, now our sun stuff. Right? The rest
Your
of
turn.
Sun. Okay. You guys already heard the one. But yeah. So this is Orange Crush Globe Mallow. This is a new variety kind of created the last year or so from one of our vendors. They just kind of released it to us. The only reason we never really carried this before is because it used to look like a tumbleweed. The big form of it was huge. It looked like a weed, and when it dried out, it's just a huge plant you didn't like. This guy, what they did is they made it smaller, so it gets, maybe knee high, and then it fills out to 3 feet. So it's a great small plant for your yards. Blooms now until I think she said July. Yeah, I got this. It's taking me like Ken Lain over here. So it's small. It takes a break in July from blooming, takes a little breather, and then it will start up again in September and bloom until we have a hard freeze. So some years it can be November, some years it can be October, but it blooms forever. Very drought tolerant. Nothing eats this because it's got that film on it again. So nothing wants to eat it. And just fills up. So it's not like usually the weed, when I did this to it, it would just collapse on itself because it would be so full up top and it'd be so thin down below. They made it so it's just structurally sound. It's not going to flop on you. It's not going to look weird. So that is why we like the Orange Crush Mallow. And very drought tolerant. You will drown this plant if you touch it at all. Just leave it alone in your yard. Once it's in, and you'll be happy. So the only way you'll kill that is by watering it. So that's a globe mallow. Beautiful. First time we've ever had it. Let's do this one next. So Greg's Mist Flower is kind of another new one. They created it to match our area. A lot of this stuff came from Tucson, so a lot of it couldn't handle our cold here. It used to freeze out and you'd never come back. They're starting to make ones that can live in our area. Yay! So this kind of comes out with bluish purple flowers. You can call it another color if you want. And the beauty of these guys is they may look like a weed, but when they fill up, if you're a big butterfly person, this thing takes on all the butterflies. It loves them. You can throw it in a spot, especially if you get those monarchs. You can do monarchs or swallowtails. Our vendor was saying this guy has that, when the swallowtails get the scent of this plant, it kind of brings in all the females because it's like a perfume to them. It's like, oh, okay, well, come, why not? So it just brings in all your butterflies. If you're a big butterfly person, that's this plant. The flower is very kind of fine, kind of, what do you call it, whimsical. It's not like a harsh flower. So it's great to mix in with a bunch of your other, in a flower bed, perennial bed, things like that. Drought tolerant. Do not water again. Do not water this guy. And animal resistant.
Milkweed. So if you're growing a lot of milkweed to bring in the butterflies, this is a great plant to put in, be a companion plant for them.
Greg's mist flower. Greg's mist flower.
No, this is one. So this is, your milkweed is more of what they're eating when they hatch out. This is more the adults. So it's bringing in those adult butterflies. That's why it's a good companion.
So the butterflies aren't going to eat away at this. They're going to leave it alone. They just want the nectar from it. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Okay. Other two, they're all, the older ones we're talking about are very drought tolerant because they're all from Tucson, so they make them so they're drought tolerant. So throw that out there. You can talk about it.
Okay. So this is the Angelita daisy. Just a great little wildflower daisy for here. Great out in rock gardens, spaces where you just have, it's actually snowing.
Don't look out that. Don't do it.
Don't look. But just another one for those great hot spots in the yard. Mix it in with other perennials that you have going. Really pretty. It sends up those big, tall, little yellow daisy type flowers on there. Very drought hardy. Angelita daisy. But like I said, just another one that our Tucson grower developed or has started growing and does very well with it. So this one, I can never say the name. So I always call it Damacia, but that's not it. But it does start with a D, but I can never say the name correctly. But this is another one. This is about as tall as it gets, but it's going to spread. You probably get a 2-3 foot spread on it. Another one that's perfect for those rock gardens, those really hot areas. And I like it because it's not going to get so tall that it overwhelms other things in the garden or in your perennial beds, but it's great along the edges of it. Probably not as well in a pot. It's going to do much better in the ground. Some of these, yeah, they just, more your native-y wildflower stuff really prefers to be in the ground as opposed to a container. It is animal resistant. I haven't really seen bunnies go after it, javelina, so it should be pretty safe. This is another really cool, so this is Perry's penstemon. Not necessarily a new introduction, but it's hard to find really good quality plants. It's another wildflower. So a lot of times you have to start it from seed, but Chris has been able to develop to grow get it going in the container. So this is the one that gets fairly tall. A lot of times you'll see it along roadsides where different wildflowers are growing. So it's tough. It can take the drought and the heat. Very tough little plant. Beautiful kind of pink reddish blooms when it blooms. Great penstemons are great for hummingbirds. So if you want to bring those hummingbirds in, penstemons are terrific for that.
So this other one is a Centranthus, also known as Jupiter's beard. Again, very kind of native for here. Very drought tolerant, very animal resistant. Full sun. It gets the shrub gets kind of like 2 by 3 by 4, can fill out rock garden beds. And then the flower gets maybe like that much taller? Gets a little taller. It's more of a pinky reddish flower, again, kind of like that one. But it's fuller. It gets way more fuller. I'm trying to explain. It's Most people don't notice it. They don't notice their yard, but we planted one over there, and it just fills with flowers. 3 feet wide, 4 feet.
It'll bloom all through the season for you. I brought it up here because it's not necessarily a new addition, but a lot of people just aren't familiar with it. I have it in my yard on our side beds, and it's just, I love it. In the spring, you look down and it's just color upon color upon color. And I haven't really had any animals. We have it over in this bed over here, which gets a lot of javelina coming through there, a lot of bunnies, and they leave it alone. I've never had a problem with them eating this. But just a great full season summer bloomer. It's also a great hummingbird, or not hummingbird, butterfly. We're going to do charades now. So it's a great plant for those butterflies because it puts out the flower is kind of like a pad. So they like to land on it and eat the nectar.
Grows really fast.
Centranthus, sometimes called Jupiter's beard.
That will get double in size by the end of the season. They grow very fast.
Yeah, great plant.
Yeah. Oh. So we always send handouts after class. I have not decided what I'm handing out to you, but it'll be good. Probably the perennial list, stuff like that. I don't figure it out. There'll be 3 handouts. Put your name and email as clear as you can. And then if you're part of the garden center group, this is not the same thing. This is just going for whoever signs up now. So name and email.
Okay. Well, so while she's starting that, I'm going to talk about this guy. This is a Spanish lavender. This one's called Anouk Purple Medley. The main reason that I pulled this one is because a lot of your Spanish lavenders haven't really been super cold hardy, but this one will go down to -10. So it can take our winters, take a beating, and still keep going and bloom. Some of the Spanish lavenders tend to be a little more sissier, but this is a great one. Spanish lavenders do a big bloom in the spring, and then they kind of shoot some blooms off later. It is an evergreen plant, so even in the wintertime, even though you won't have the blooms on there, you'll have leaves and you'll have a little mound of green. Is that me or you? It's the microphone. We could do that. Sorry to bug you like that. So this is another variety of the Spanish lavender. This one's Primavera, which is also, I think this one goes down to 0, whereas this one goes down -10. This one goes to 0.
Yeah, it's the biggest blooms. Spanish people love Spanish because they're bigger blooms, whereas your French and your English have slightly smaller blooms, but they handle the cold way better here. They're all drought tolerant. They're all animal resistant. It's just kind of how their bloom looks. It's slightly different.
Yeah, so nice sunny spots. I have grown these in containers and done well with them. You just got to watch your watering. Make sure you don't overwater. Lavender hates to sit with wet roots all the time, so you have to be careful with that.
That's how most people kill them out. Well, my lavender did die. It's not evergreen. No, you just watered it too much. Don't touch it. Okay.
Your turn.
Okay. Does this work? Okay. Okay. Is it picking up? Okay, good. Oh yeah. So this is a rainbow ascot euphorbia. The cousin to it's gopher plant. You know that one, that blue tinge plant. Well, they came out with this guy. He's taller. It's got a 2x2. Goes great in a pot. Goes great in the ground. This is its color. The new growth comes out red, and then it gets greener and more yellow as it ages. It will also send out a flower. The flower is the same color as the plant. So,
well, it's actually a little bit lighter. It's a little bit lighter, like a chartreuse green, and it blooms a really long time out in the yard.
Like you'll see, your gopher plant should be blooming now. Those regular ones have yellow bloom. This is that lighter one. They'll bloom until even into the summer and stuff. They go a long time. And these guys, like that deep snow we had, that heavy snow, kind of flattened mine out. I just cut mine back, and it's doubling its growth. It will get full size within your first season of planting. do not overwater this guy. People take this home, they'll water it twice a week, and they'll instantly kill it. You cannot bring it back from overwater, or it'll be really tricky. So full sun, rock the place, throw it wherever you don't want it, but it's super party pretty. Nothing eats it, or they shouldn't. We did have one person today. Something was eating their gopher plant, which is toxic when they eat the stem. So, but something was eating it. So I think things are really desperate right now, but usually nothing will touch these guys. So just really great plant.
Yeah, I've grown it container and the ground. It does equally well. So I brought this one up because it's a raspberry. It's called raspberry shortcake. And the reason I brought it up is because it actually grows shrub form. So most of your raspberries bramble, so they spill out. You got to put them on a trellis or you do wire to keep them up. This is actually a shrub. So you do great in containers or in the ground, but it produces the same amount of fruit, and just as juicy, just as sweet. So it's just a little bit different, especially if you don't have a huge yard, a lot of space where you can let a raspberry bramble. This you can just grow in a container or keep contained, and it does really well. So that's why I brought it up.
So we do this, catch on. We have a tracking camera, so I gotta get a lock on to me. Yeah. So this is a little giant yucca. So they cross, so most of your giant yuccas will get huge. They get like 8-10 feet, and then you get more on your flower. They cross this one with another shorter yucca, so it stays smaller. So this guy gets about 4 feet tall, 4 feet by 4 feet, and the flower gets 7. The flower, most of your tall flowers, they bloom out within like a week or two. They made this so it will bloom for like six months. So it'll start blooming here probably like May, and they'll bloom until we probably get a hard freeze, so October or so. So it blooms forever, and that's very rare to find. So if you need like a centerpiece or you have like a big space to fill, this guy would be great for that. So just green, it's evergreen. Nothing likes to touch these guys because of this curly Q on them, because they're spiky. They might nibble in the flower. Yeah, they don't really touch the flower if they're desperate, maybe, but usually by the time it flowers, they're not. So just a really good statement. We do have, smaller ones. You got your yellows, your brake lights that stay like 2 feet. Flowers get to 3 feet. But we wanted a bigger one for your yards, so just to push it out. Nothing, very drought tolerant. You do not want to water these guys. Stick them somewhere where the water will not stay. They handle anything. They're great for these guys. And they're about to bloom here. I may have knocked the blooms off some other ones on accident, but this guy's got a bloom. I won't touch it very much, and it'll bloom here soon. So that's your yucca. The same farm that did this one also did this guy. It's a Sweet Bubba Desert Willow. We brought this one in. It's new. Desert willows have those stupid pods. They're messy. You don't want them everywhere, but they're great for the area. This guy, they created it so it doesn't have that many pods. You'll get some, 2, 3, 4. You'll not get very many pods. The color is a little bit darker than a normal desert willow. I would say this is like a dark purple, whereas your other ones are like a light pink and stuff. Same size, gets kind of big. It can be kind of like a tree. So 15 by 15, right? Yeah, 15 by 15. So it wants a space. It grows slower though. It's not going to take over your yard in 3 years. The 15 feet will take a while. We do get them in smaller sizes, but this is our big one for right now. So that's why we brought these guys in. They're great for area. You don't want to clean up your yard. We get that. You came here to relax, not to throw a bunch of stuff in. So that's why we have these guys. All right, let me get these out of the way.
So the Sweet Bubba actually really is pretty, and the desert willows, they're not a true willow. They're not like you're thinking the willow trees that take over your yard and get your septic and yada, yada, yada. These don't do that. But just great for those hot spots and really pretty. And they bloom most of the summer. Very pretty. So the tree right there that she's just moving. So this is a peach cocktail tree. So this is the first year we've had this particular tree. So it's 4 different varieties that have been grafted onto one tree, and they're all peaches. So most of your peaches are self-pollinating. So you don't have to have those varieties to get peaches, but it's nice because you get different flavors, and they also kind of come off at different times. So you'll get a longer season of peaches on there. We also have, besides the peach tree, which is brand new to be grafted, we also have some pears and some apples as well. And a fruit cocktail, which is 3, 4.
Peach, it's a plum, it's a
Peach, plum, apricot, and nectarine. So, right. But just kind of cool, especially for people who have smaller yards, but you want different varieties of fruit. It's nice that you can just do it with one tree and not have to put 4, 5, 6 different trees in. But check out all the fruit trees are on the north side of this greenhouse here. What else do we got? Oh, so Arizona cypress, which is a native tree for here, but they're coming out with new styles all the time. So this one is Crystal Frost. First year we've had this
it's
one.
me. I'm Ken's daughter.
He lost his pants. So this particular Arizona is going to get that same 20 feet tall, 25, 5 to 8 feet wide. As with most Arizona cypress, give it a nice sunny spot. They can take the wind. They're good for windbreaks, for screens. I really like the color on this one. It's kind of a nice mix between the native greenish and with a little more of the blue to it. Nice full tree, very, very attractive. So doesn't get as big as the native Arizona cypress, but a little nicer in their coloring and in the way that they grow. It depends if it's a male or female.
Nice to see the cypress get those little blue pods on them. She didn't give me anything.
Because yeah. We also do have the blue ice Arizona cypress out there too, which is a little more bluish gray than this one. It's also a very attractive, another variety of Arizona cypress that does very well here. Very attractive, nice coloring on it. Red bud. So this one is a pink pom-pom red bud. So the red buds this one's got a lot of buds on it. It's probably another 2-3 weeks before it pops fully. Yeah, so bright pink, kind of fuchsia colored blossoms all over the tree, just covered. And then it puts out a really pretty kind of green heart-shaped leaf later after it's done blooming. It puts out the leaves. It's a nice tree for here. It's not huge. It gets max 20 feet. Some other varieties actually stay even a little shorter. So it's not a huge tree, but it gives you a nice canopy. It's going to give you a 15-ish foot canopy on there. They're really pretty good in the wind. I've seen them take a lot of wind. I've seen them take a lot of sun. Once they're established, they're very drought hardy. So it's not going to be sucking up a lot of water once you get it established on there. So that's pink pom-pom. We also have this one over at the end. Oh, this is a double bloomer. Sorry.
Like the blue one, single bloom. The pom-pom, I brought it to the double bloom, so it's an even bigger cluster of flowers everywhere. So just kind of a little bit showier, and that's why it's more pink too, because it's just got that double bloom to it. They're all blue pink.
So the one next to it there is, it's a new variety. I forget what it's called. Midnight Express. So on this one, the leaves on it, so it's going to still have that pink blossom to it, but the leaves are going to be a real dark burgundy leaf. So kind of the same shape, that real pretty heart-shaped leaf, but a real dark burgundy, which is really nice. If you have a yard that you just have green upon green upon green, it's nice to bring a tree in that has a different color leaf to it because it just really stands out. So Midnight Express is new. I think there's some that we. I'm so glad I have you here. Some that weep too, and then there's also one called Vanilla Twist that has kind of a white blossom to it. So redbuds are a great group of trees that do fabulous in our area without getting huge like a maple or a sycamore, that type of thing.
We also have one that's it's a sunset redbuds. The leaves come out orange, red, and like some green. So it's just a 3-tone leaf. So if you don't like green, you don't like the dark, you got it in between. So
That's true.
we just didn't break it because it's all a tiny tree. You don't need to see it. They're all sticks right now.
So I think we pretty much covered everything. I don't know why this rosemary is here, but it's from our it's a hill hardy. So it's actually, it gets about 3 foot tall or so. It's there again, it's one of the hardier rosemaries. So sometimes we get those really cold winters. It can actually kill off a rosemary here. Hill hardy, it has a little more cold tolerance to it. Nice evergreen, animal resistant, blooms in the spring with a little purple flower, and in the fall, you get another little purple flower on it. There are rosemaries that get taller, definitely. This one's going to stay in that 3 foot range, but there are some that the uprights usually get 4 to 5 feet. So yeah, there are some taller. This one is not new, but there again, a lot of people don't think you can grow gardenias here, but this is Sweet Star. Not as big as the ones that you're used to seeing in California where they're really big, but a real pretty little double blossom, just as fragrant. Does great in containers, does great in the ground. I kind of put it where it gets a little bit of a break from the afternoon heat. It can take more sun than you would think, but just a little bit of break from that really intense June heat that's beating down on you. But when it's in bloom, oh my gosh, I have it by my seating area where we sit outside, and it's just amazing.
Bees though,
Bees don't bother it.
A whole lot. It's too big a flower. So that's the gardenias are great. They're evergreen. Sometimes in pots you'll get that chloros. They'll kind of go yellow because in pots they just take so much nutrients. You just refresh your pot with some fertilizer. It'll keep them green. Because some people get worried they get yellow.
Mm-hmm.
That happens in the winter.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think we kind of covered everything. You guys have been amazing. Question? For any of them? So some are you don't need to worry, like we didn't like the Linton Rose. Linton Rose would be fine in the cold. It's not going to care. Some of these others, if they start blooming a little early, but forsythia, it would be fine. Your lilacs, unless we get a really hard freeze, are going to be fine. Some of your more like the mallow, some of those things like that, they're a little more heat loving. If they were blooming this time of year, you would want to cover and protect them. So things, no, you just lose the blossoms on them. If you like pansies and violas, you put those out this time of year, you don't need to worry about covering them. They'll be fine. They can take the cold. They love the cold season. So it's kind of, I can't give you one specific answer because it kind of depends on the flowers. Yep.
Once your stuff, once you get it in and established, they take care of themselves. They'll kind of get with your weather. You just got to worry about, because we get hot, and then we freeze. That's when you got to worry because they kind of freak out. But if we're more of an even temps, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Any other question?
The blooming one? Yeah.
So it's a prairie rose, lily of the valley shrub. So it's a great late winter, early spring bloomer. It likes a shadier spot in your yard. It would get sunburned, like June when it's really, really hot, the leaves would get sunburned to them. So if you have a little shadier spot or filtered light, excellent for it. Okay. Well, you guys have been amazing, and I'm impressed. It stopped snowing. Don't worry. We're all good. You're welcome to come back this weekend. We have the vendors tomorrow. We have hot dogs. Sunday, we have hot dogs. And I think there's something else, but I don't remember what. Ken and Lisa. Also down in the store, since you guys came to the class and you braved the weather, we have a little 4-inch Johnny Jump Up viola. Guys are welcome to grab one and go at no charge, because we just appreciate you guys coming in. I know it's cold and it's a long time to sit here, but we really appreciate you guys coming out. Makes a big difference for us.
I don't know how.